One of the other things your report talks about is supply chain bottlenecks. Now, one of the issues that we're facing in India is a shortage of semiconductor chips, and that's leading to a huge backlog in the ability of automobile manufacturers to deliver new cars to consumers, a huge uptake in consumption, or at least demand, on account of the festive season and the pent-up demand. So how, and this is partly linked to global supply chains, how do you see this semiconductor shortage play itself out? Do you think of this as being a temporary phenomenon, or is this something is this a problem that's here to stay?
The shortage in chips is a problem that's been around now for a while. I mean, I would say about a 12-month period that this problem has lasted. And given that it's not that easy to scale up production of chips, it will last longer. I mean, it would expect it to go into next year. But I would say that, the problem gets less severe over time. More generally, supply shocks are posing a problem. So in the specific context of India, I would also mention the coal shortages that we are seeing. And given that coal is a big part of power generation in India, that's another downside risk for the economy, I would say, in the near term.
No, so I'm coming to coal separately, but just on the question of semiconductor shortages, do you see this as being a passing phase and the availability of semiconductors increasing, or do you think that this is really a challenge, given the importance of semiconductors in the new economy, that countries like India will have to find ways of having to make their peace with and deal with?
No, there is a part of this which is transitory. Transitory not in the sense of the next couple of months, but transitory more in the sense of a few quarters of it. I would say by the end of next year, this would be the problem would be, it would be a much easier problem to solve. There would be a lot more supply that comes on. What we've seen right now in the interim has been the disruption that's come from the fact that demand has come back very strongly after the pandemic, combined with the fact that car manufacturers didn't really expect that this demand would come back, and so they hadn't placed their contracts with the chip manufacturers, and the chip manufacturers decided to contract with other kinds of products. And so there is that mismatch that we're seeing in the chip industry. It will last for some more time. It won't go away in a couple of months. But again, in a year, we're certainly looking at this problem being resolved.
Let's now come to coal, because that's the burning issue of the day. In India, on the back of a heavy monsoon, to the extent possible, coal production is now being ramped up. But this is also linked to global coal prices increasing and the larger issue of producers wanting to move away from fossil fuels towards clean energy and therefore not ramping up coal orders. But in the immediate, it's fossil fuels and coal that is driving the large part of power generation. How do you see this play itself out over a short and medium term?
So this is, like I said, this is a near-term risk for India. Again, demand for electricity comes back up quickly. Coal supply doesn't come back as fast, and you have the heavy rains, the limited production supply. And so there is going to be this transition period where if this continues, then that could end up with having power shortages and power outages, which then, of course, poses a headwind to the recovery. Now, again, these are supply problems, some of which should be smoothed in the coming months. More generally, what is needed, of course, is a much more resilient infrastructure for renewable energy. I think there is a lot more innovation that's needed on that front, especially with respect to storage of renewable power. We just don't have the right technology for it. But that is exactly what's needed to ensure that you don't have these very volatile swings in energy prices otherwise.